All right, with it being Memorial Day weekend, we're almost 2 months through the baseball season. So it's time to take another temperature check of the Yankees and Mets pitching. There's no better person to do this with other than my guy, Nick Pollack. He's the founder of Pitcher List, and Nick joins me now. Nick, we got a lot of pitching to talk about with the Mets and Yankees. Some good, some bad. How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing great. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, the Mets and the Yankees, what are we doing here?
It's interesting times. Let's get into it because we can do that. Now, Nick, with the Yankees, starting pitching rotation for them, it hasn't been whole this season. They just got Luis Severino back, but the team is 9 games over 500 right now. So I got to ask you this: are you more impressed with how the Yanks have been able to hold it together pitching-wise, or are you more encouraged about what this pitching staff can be once it gets healthier?
Yeah, it's been a phenomenal season. I'll be honest here. You should not be 9 games up when you've had so many core injuries. Giancarlo Stanton also on the offensive side, Josh Donaldson as well. And then, of course, you have Carlos Rodon, who had this massive signing in the offseason. We're all so excited about a real foundation of those rotation just gone. We haven't seen him all year. We might not see him until the All-Star break. And then you have Nestor Cortez, who didn't have a slider for a while and was very shaky. Severino just returned. And yet 9 games up is insane. Huge thanks to the #1 bullpen in the majors. Last time I was here, I said the Yankees had the best bullpen in the majors. They still do. It's absolutely incredible. Garrett Cole has been a rock for them. Yes, he didn't do well last weekend, but he had a 2.01 ERA entering that game, which is phenomenal. And huge props to the back end of this rotation. Even Johnny Brito giving some innings, even though it wasn't perfection, he got those innings for the Yankees and kept them in games that they eventually did win. Clark Schmidt has stepped it up a little bit. Domingo Germán has been great. Maybe it was the sticky stuff a little bit. I am excited to find out what happens there. And even Randy Vasquez, making his MLB debut, pitched really well for the Yankees. And it's those little things that keep the Yankees in games and opportunities to pull wins when they shouldn't.
Yeah, you're seeing that happen. I am intrigued to see what happens with Domingo Germán and if it is the sticky stuff or not. But we'll get to that another time. There's been a lot going on with the Mets rotation. I want to talk about them, including injuries. It's been a roller coaster season for the Mets, to say the least. But here's the major question, Nick. Who do you trust in their starting rotation right now?
I don't trust anyone, and I just feel so bad for the Mets. Even in the preseason, I was really excited for the opportunities that I knew David Peterson and Tyler McGill were going to get, and both of them have not taken advantage of them. Peterson hasn't had his old slider. Tyler McGill doesn't have his old velocity, nor the same slider either, and neither of them have lived up to the hype that they had in 2022. Then there's Kodai Senga, who you could argue has been the most trustworthy as of late, but personally, I don't, based on his repertoire being based on a splitter, and splitters are the most volatile pitches in baseball. That ghost fork, you don't know if it's going to be there or not on a given day, and despite having high velocity and a good movement profile on his slider, those are not dependable pitches for Senga, which means that he's going to have a lot of volatility. And when you talk about trust, I can't trust Senga to be that guy. Fortunately, Scherzer has come back from injury and had a lot of questions, and Hayes, and he just had 20 whiffs inside of Coors, which is so hard to do. He's looking as good as ever for the Mets. I hope we can trust his health moving forward. And Justin Verlander, oh man, you finally got him back, and what does he do? He has his worst season so far with his slider. It's not really his fastball that's the problem. It's the slider that is missing bats far less than it used to. Without that pitch being, say, a 25% swing striker, which used to be elite in the majors, now it's down to about 13%. He's a completely different pitcher at the moment. The curveball isn't doing wonderful things. The fastball is fine, but without that slider, Justin Verlander isn't the man that you can trust. I hope to see these changes moving forward. I mean, maybe Carlos Carrasco, he's got a new curveball now. It's such a rough situation for the Mets. I hope they can find some stability.
I hope so. Right now, Nick trusts nobody in the Mets starting rotation. No one at all. All right, so this is a time of season, Nick, where fans and also teams, they like to assess where they are. What do the Mets and Yankees need to do to improve their pitching over the next 100-plus games? What can both teams do?
Right. It's a tough call right now. You're going to have the All-Star break, which is traditionally when we start talking about major trades happening, maybe July 1st. We're about a month away from those. And there are guys out there, look at the Chicago White Sox, who are pretty much out of contention. And they have guys like Lance Lynn, Lucas Giolito, Dylan Cease. They could be dealing any of those, especially Giolito, who's a free agent at the end of the year. There are a lot of whispers about Shohei Ohtani and how the Angels are going to be. And theoretically, they should be trading Ohtani. But then, of course, how can you deal a guy like that? You're going to see some moves. Maybe even Jordan Montgomery coming back to the Yankees. It's possible he'll be a free agent at the end of the year, and the Cardinals really aren't doing wonderful things in the Central. But at the end of the day, the Yankees need health and the Mets need health. The Yankees need to have Carlos Rodon being that rock in the rotation. Nestor Cortez has to get comfortable with his slider. And really, the Yankees need to figure out who those last guys are at the end of the rotation. Is it Clark Schmidt going to find stability against left-handers? Is Domingo Germán going to be that swing and miss guy that we wanted to be? And as for the Mets, oh man, they have to make at least one trade. They cannot believe in Jose Quintana coming back and being really productive down the stretch for them. Carlos Carrasco, you have no idea what you're going to get. Tyler McGill, David Peterson can't be trusted. It's really tough. There has to be at least one trade made by the Mets to get another starter in here.
All right, well, as we move closer to the All-Star break and the trade deadline, I'm sure the next time I check in with you, we'll be talking about some potential names the Mets could acquire if the Yankees could acquire. That talk is going to heat up, but that is Nick Pollack of Pitcher List, the founder of that, one of the best people to talk about pitching here, and hopefully next time we talk to him, there's more hope around the Mets pitching staff. Hoping for that, Nick. Good to talk to you as always.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.